Hi, everyone. Welcome to the last webinar in this fall's Renew New Jersey Renewable Energies in the Garden State. I am Michelle Backus, County Agent and Associate Professor with Rutgers Cooperative Extension of Middlesex and Union Counties, and I will be your host this evening. Before I get started and introduce our speaker, Dr. Serpil Guran, I just have a couple of housekeeping things. As a reminder, this webinar series is a partnership between two Rutgers Cooperative Extension programs, the Earth Day Everyday program, and then also the Marine Extension program seminar series. That's been going well. I hope we continue this partnership. So a couple of things. This webinar is going to have an anonymous poll at the end in order to determine what you've learned and any actions that you might be considering adopting. And Rutgers considers this to be research. And since you are probably all human, this falls under the Rutgers Human Subjects Protection Program, and we will need your consent in order to take part in this research project. So, Serpil, if you could please go to the consent slide.
That's right, yeah.
Great, that's it. Thank you so much. So we need your consent to take part in this research project. You, of course, are welcome to not participate in the survey and the poll at the end of this presentation, but we certainly hope that you do. If you have any questions about your rights as human subjects, there's contact information here for you to ask additional questions. Okay, so if you could advance to the next one. So Rutgers Cooperative Extension is an equal opportunity program provider and employer, and we want to make sure that we are meeting everyone's needs. So if you need any accommodations, please let us know. We take the federal civil rights regulations and policies very seriously. So a couple of things. We are using Zoom this evening to provide this webinar. If you have any questions, if you can please provide your questions via the Q&A tool at the bottom of your screen. The chat is disabled. We will try to get to as many questions as possible. And then lastly, this webinar series is free, as well as all the recordings that we provide to you, and they're all available on our website. And so although it is free, we welcome your program donations. And you can donate to our program right on our Rutgers Environmental Stewards website, and we will put a link in the chat. Okay, so we can advance one more to the start of the presentation. So I am very excited to have with us this evening Dr. Serpil Guran, who is the director of the Rutgers EcoComplex in Burlington County. We were just at the EcoComplex this weekend for our Rutgers Environmental Stewards Impact Summit. Dr. Guran is trained on thermochemical conversion of sustainable biomass and waste materials for production of fuels and chemicals, and she specializes in research, development, and assessment of sustainable biofuels, innovative waste recycling technologies, and life cycle analysis of clean energy, alternative fuel production, and sustainable food systems. And that's a mouthful. So I will turn it over to you, Serpil Guran.
Thank you, Michelle. I truly appreciate this. Good evening, everyone. As Michelle introduced me, yes, I serve as the director of Rutgers EcoComplex. And like every speaker does, just a little bit, just quickly advertisement about our center in case you don't know where we are and what we do kind of thing. And because we are doing research and demonstration on innovative energy, clean energy technologies, and also environmental and agricultural technologies. The goal is we're trying to expand the innovation ecosystem in the region, in the state, in the region. And we have several projects currently, active projects. In this series, very first speaker, David Speka, is leading the Rutgers agricultural, solar ag program. And so I won't be mentioning that too much because Dave already mentioned that. And I believe Professor Burney also spoke about that. And we have also small accelerator program regarding offshore wind and how to integrate young innovators and also small business into this emerging ecosystem. In every research, every activity, what we do, we communicate with the every layer of the society, including students, including scientists, entrepreneurs, and corporate community leaders, investors, and also decision makers in the local or state decision makers. We provide as much information as possible if we are asked about that, with Rutgers permission, obviously. As I mentioned, we have solar interests, we have offshore wind, we have fuel cells and biomass that I will be talking heavily about it, and also in relation also biomass, but also food waste. And these are the current interest subjects. And just these logos is basically just finished one accelerator program. We just have the next accelerator program about offshore wind. But why also, how are we serving as a business incubator? You may have a great idea, but those ideas, and are they really going to hit the market space? So that is why you have to have concept assessment, and then development and scale up, and then test and verification and launching your technology. While you're doing this, you may need a lab space, office space. Now we are here to help you. Enough advertising, probably you're going to say. Now we're going to get back to the main subject matter, bioenergy, biofuels considerations as a renewable energy source. But before that, and let's try to put everything into a context. And because, what are we doing energy-wise currently in the US and also in the state? So we can understand, maybe you already know that, but it's important to underline back again. This is borrowed from DOE's one of the charts. As you see, around, especially after 2014, United States has surpassed other, large fossil fuel generator or producer countries like Saudi Arabia, like Russia. Dark is the blue, dark blue is the petroleum, lighter is the natural gas. You can see that US is surpassing, in every, area. So we are doing a lot of fossil fuel. And then how do we consume that fossil fuels currently? Or I should say current energy consumption, because we also have renewable energy consumption, although it's still a little, but yeah. And you can see that petroleum, natural gas, renewable energy, coal, and nuclear, and then how they are utilized in transportation, industrial, manufacturing applications, residential, commercial. And so this gives you a little bit of, lay of the land, what's going on regarding energy consumption. And this chart also is good to see, I won't be talking too much about, but how energy production, what's going on. I mentioned you that we are doing a lot of fossil fuel. You can see that actually natural gas increasing, and then coal is sort of leveling off or reducing, but oil is still in the, and then also liquids, a little bit, fossil fuel liquids, and then nuclear and renewable energy is in the rise also. So it's good to have that, profile. When you come to renewable energy, I mentioned you already, solar, wind has been mentioned previous talks, but biomass. And so about 13% renewable energy, but then 37% is biomass, biofuels, wood, and biomass waste. So let's take a look closely again. When I mentioned US energy, we are a large but also not very efficient energy user in the US. As I mentioned, 87% is still coming from fossil fuels and also nuclear energy. especially when it comes to power distribution. Transmission and distribution system is antiquated and needs upgrading, modernization, really. Nuclear plants also largely constructed before 70s. And the coal plants are aging. Yep, we are already decommissioning. We already did commission in New Jersey, at least. But we are still getting emissions from from emissions from from Midwest, but also, as you know, for the carbon emissions, it's global. So carbon emissions and other emissions also. So what to do? How can we clean up the our footprint, right? Yeah, there are great initiatives currently, US wide, also statewide. Light duty vehicles can be electrified. This is great. I'm sure you are seeing more electric vehicles on the highways and on the streets. And then heavy duty trucks, they can be electrified, although a little, and depending on the cost and everything, but then also they can be used for compressed natural gas. Please do not misunderstand. I am not pushing for fossil fuels, but when you compare with diesel, compressed natural gas is cleaner. However, there is also renewable natural gas coming from biogas that I can mention later. But we still need liquid sustainable drop-in fuels for aviation, even commercial and also military aviation. We still need, because the planes still quite a bit long way to be electrified or anything else. If we look into New Jersey energy, it's similar to what's happening in the US. I'm not going to mention too much, but let's take a look at the renewables a little bit. Biomass is a little bit, and then other renewables. We're going to take a look into that later, but it's good to see that heavily we are using natural gas. We are, as I mentioned, we decommissioned the coal generation, and we have now quite heavily, we are generating electricity from natural gas. And also gasoline, energy, and distillate fuel oil, and so on and so forth. And greenhouse gas emissions. Why we are so worried about this fossil fuel versus renewable energy? The main concern is for mitigating climate change. And I am not going to talk about climate change. How we are experiencing is the longer droughts or longer, intense rainfalls. And however, it's all about greenhouse gas emission reduction. And so now I should come to the, subject matter, why bioenergy, right? As you all know, we've been repeating the same thing. In 20th century, they powered the fossil fuel powered 20th century America and even the Western world, even around the world. Now we have to mitigate the climate change. That's the big problem to be solved. And so what to do in 21st century? Can we augment and displace fossil energy with renewable energy? That's the thing. Yes, it is happening now. We have solar, wind, hydrogen, and the potential for bioenergy, but we have to understand bioenergy. Because, what we need, there is drivers creating successful low carbon bioeconomy. That's very important because we have to underline that biofuels should be low carbon, okay? And for healthier lives, healthcare, reduce healthcare costs, and manufacturing practices potentially transform, improved practices, and again, mitigating climate change. But what is bioenergy? Bioenergy is not like solar energy or wind energy. There are so many different biomass feedstocks, so many different conversion technologies, some of them commercialized already, some of them are still emerging. And then obviously carbon footprint of certain biofuels. This is the important part, that when we look into biofuels and bioenergy, and it's complex. Not all biomass is generated equally, really. Some of them are good, some of them are not so good feedstocks. And obviously, bioenergy concept. What are we talking? I keep talking sometimes biofuels, bioenergy. When we look into bioenergy, it includes biopower, which is electricity, bioheat. It's basically heat coming from biomass, biofuels for transportation, liquid fuels potentially, and also, in addition to the energy part, also bioproducts. Everything is under the definition of bioenergy. And it includes, obviously, the plant-based biomass, also animal-based biomass. And so let's define biomass. And also let's define sustainable biomass before even we consider, concentrating into the, let's have the biofuels, bioenergy. Biomass, we can define the biomass as biologically derived renewable materials that can be used to produce heat, electric power, fuels. But what is sustainable? It should be the feedstock should not follow food to fuel pathway. And that results also forest conversion or plantations or land clearing for biomass production. So basically, you may say this, what is that, because early 2000s, we had this big biofuels, interest around the world, especially in the Western world. And so, oh my God, corn ethanol, biodiesel from soy, when some countries even palm oil to biodiesel, and also, so basically what happened was also in Brazil, for example, soy to biodiesel. So it started causing a little bit of concern because land clearing and clearing forest conversion started happening. So that is why we should really make sure that the feedstock biomass should not follow food to fuel pathways. And sustainable biomass, what are they? And obviously, whatever is not, and crop residues, like you can read it and later, and non-invasive fuel crops, again, like fast-growing trees, grasses, and so there are several of them. Native vegetation, forest residues, animal manure, aquatic species, algae, duckweed. These are emerging, approaches. Also, unrecycled biomass in waste. Basically, what are they? Food waste, yard waste, unrecycled paper, cardboards, untreated food, waste wood. And landfill gas still is considered. However, now landfill gas also, I will talk a little later in my speech, not so much also, we are not promoting anymore, because landfills also, not every landfill is the same. Some landfills may not recover their landfill gas, which is certain percentage, about 55-60% methane. And if it's not fully recovery, if it's not possible, they may leak into the atmosphere in the methane form. So that's going to contribute into the climate change. And also the nutrients coming from organics, and when you bury them with other waste, basically they are not recovered. So if we are to talk about closing the loop, we should make sure that we are utilizing every bit of organics. So these are the sustainable biomass considerations. Again, it's a busy chart. We created this chart when we were doing at the EcoComplex a biomass energy analysis of the state. Yep, as I told you, there are biomass that suitable for maybe digestion, maybe other things, but if there are maybe biomass species like wood chips, maybe animal bones, you name it, and anything that with low moisture, probably you don't want to deal with that. And so it's basically based on the feedstock You can utilize gasification, pyrolysis. These are also not so commercialized yet. And so these are the technologies. I just put this as an information. And again, production pathways to liquid and gaseous fuels, similar chart, but this is coming from another research. You can take a look at that. There are so many chemicals can be produced from biomass, hydrogen, drop-in fuels, and ethanol, butanol, but also we should really talk about, lignocellulosic ethanol and butanol, low carbon biofuels. I should really underline that. So potential biomass conversion and end products, what are they? Biofuels, I said, biomaterials, enzyme development for process efficiency, biopharmaceuticals, obviously traditionally heat, and so you can capture it for combined heat and from combined heat and power if you're generating electricity, bio-based plastics, bio-based building materials, bio-based medical technology, and other substitutes. And so with this interest and with the climate change mitigation interest, New Jersey DEP, Department of Environmental Protection, convened a biofuels, their science advisory board convened a biofuels subgroup. And so I was contributing to their report also. The report, finally, reported that last April, and potentially 0.7 terawatt hour electricity production is possible from New Jersey organic waste. And it's about 150 million cubic meter biogas potentially can be generated from including landfill gas, including biogas from anaerobic digestion of biomass or organic waste. And obviously, again, suitable biomass for bioenergy. Energy crops, I mentioned, food waste, ag waste, residential waste. And so bioenergy field, as I mentioned, it's not anymore just put the wood chips and burn it. It's more technology involved now because, burning biomass is not so much recommended anymore. And so I think I went too fast. And we all have to understand the energy, chemistry, biology, environmental sciences, depending on the involvement level, obviously. Not everybody should know everything, okay? And obviously, engineering, systems engineering is required, policy support is required, economics, and obviously, when we speak about sustainability, it's not only environmental sustainability. We have to have any project should be economically sustainable and also socially acceptable, right? Business and the behavioral sciences, political science, so a lot happening. If we look into from the biomass to energy, obviously we have to have sustainable feedstock. Biomass, and obviously you have to have the logistics because there are there have been so many biomass related projects failed in New Jersey in the past years. They couldn't secure the feedstock. Okay, so that is why it's very important. And then you have to have technologically achievable conversion technologies. And obviously, first you have to, prepare it for conversion, and then whatever you produce, maybe if it is a liquid fuel or maybe some gas, you have to upgrade it, and then you have to have the infrastructure, distribution, and end use. So, obviously, sustainable low-carbon biofuels development. I mentioned you feedstock technology. You need that, but also supporting policies are necessary. You may ask me, are there any policies? Yes, we have policies for low carbon liquid fuels, and EPA has accepting that certain biofuels are in the definition of low carbon biofuels. So also you have to have capital, and then marketplace should be ready to handle your product, right? And so it involves a lot. And when it comes to biofuels, low carbon biofuels generation. And I mentioned you that also bioenergy, we have to incorporate sustainability and resiliency concepts into bioenergy because we are always promoting sustainable projects, right? And so these are important projects, intergenerational and intragenerational also. This is very important. If we generate something and develop something here, but also it should be helpful for humanity around the world also. And also multiple generations from, we don't want to damage a sustainability concept. And in addition, multiple domains, I mentioned that. And also it should really meet with the resiliency definition of capacity to recover from problems of catastrophic events. Because what are they? Economic catastrophic events could be environmental, could be social, and or could be economic. And so there are, if you want me to give an example, catastrophic event. We went through the COVID problem, like a social problem or, human-related activities. And then some economic downturns related to that. That was catastrophic. And even 2008 downturn was very catastrophic. And obviously environmental, we're talking about climate change, right? And it may grow and it will grow as the scientists forecast. And these are the goals also. We always monitor these goals because UN developed these goals. I'm not going to go into this, but the most important part, zero hunger, clean energy, and clean water, because these three concepts are very much related to each other. And so bioenergy, I keep talking about this. It should be sustainable. And then what do we have in New Jersey as feedstock? We assessed as Rutgers EcoComplex also, not only EcoComplex, but our experiment station, Rutgers University Ag Experiment Station. Original one was performed before 2015, but we updated this study in 2015 also. Just as similar findings, what we have in New Jersey, similar to Biofuels report that very recently I mentioned you, and New Jersey, then our assumptions, these are, or forecast 7.5 million dry tons biomass could be available, but then only 4.4 74% of the biomass is coming from waste. So it's basically, we don't grow too much biomass in New Jersey, but we have waste and have to reutilize this again. And so you can, you can see here and there maybe a little bit, burning biomass for power generation and things like that, but we don't support too much of that also. And so in this case, we have to take a look at this waste. Is it waste or is it wealth? And so how can we, I mentioned you the sustainability development goals, especially water, energy, and food. So if we look into this within the food, energy, water nexus concept, can we also add waste into this concept? And can we also, can waste is, be considered as resource, and waste management and reutilization be integrated into to achieve better results? Because what we are talking about always, energy, carbon footprint, energy, oh my God, we're trying to, utilize more solar, wind. And so because we know that energy has a lot of, carbon in it, but also energy has a lot of water embedded in it if it's coming from fossil fuels or nuclear energy. And water also has a lot of energy embedded in it, as you know. And so every drop of water we utilize, there is energy in it. And also every slice of bread or whatever we consume as food, it has energy and water footprint. So that is why they are, very highly linked. So when it comes to food, especially now, we're talking about organic waste, food waste. So, but we have to understand also food. We've been doing a lot of, intensive farming and just more production of food. Is it really still the good approach? And, scientists are saying this outdated, unresponsive, and harmful. And we need innovative, sustainable agri-food systems. And so again, within the sustainability understanding, because rather than more production, also we must consider efficient energy, water, food production, and consumption practices. So if we look into food and environmental footprint of food, because why am I'm talking about this, because we should not waste the food, okay? And I won't be reading the full slide. You can read it later, but the most important that I'd like to underline, last 65, 70 years, food production more than has been doubled, right? But, 65, doubling the food production, but the cropland only increased 12%. So what we did, we used massive increase, massive amounts of, we still are using nitrogen, phosphorus, and pesticides. And in addition, increase in irrigation, which is important commodity water. And further intensification is going to add more problems into our systems. You can read later about loss of natural habitat, increase in the continental water storage that formerly were flowing into the deltas. So, native fisheries will be impacted, bird population will be impacted, you name it. So, and basically, also agriculture footprint, and it's very high, as I mentioned before. Climate change is going to impact prolonged droughts, extreme rainfalls. We're already started experiencing that. And however, irrigated ag provides 40% of world's food production, but then it consumes almost 87-90% of global freshwater consumption. And so we have to do something with food. And we have to be, I'm not suggesting that we shouldn't eat food, or however, we have to be very careful, and we have to promote sustainable food production and ag systems. So if we look into, obviously, in addition to food, water footprint, climate change, is food cause or victim? Both. Basically, you can see that. And you can see the, climate change will alter the food production, but also you can see the carbon footprints of certain food that I won't be reading again. It's, I borrowed this from IPCC website. And so food systems are vulnerable, but if we are not careful, we are going to contribute to climate change through our food production and consumption practices. Just take a look at this, and impact, demand for more food will impact the water scarcity. So let's take a look at this, as food source I'm talking about, not energy. Fish is one of the highest, calories from cubic meter of water. The fish is not because it's in the water, that's why it's a high, water footprint, because fish processing industry uses a lot of water. That's why. So in this case, I wanted to underline the importance of food waste and why food should not be wasted. But when it comes to food waste, also, there are different understandings, different definitions. Let's take a look at the food waste, because I will be connecting food waste into energy needs in New Jersey, and also in the US also. And so Food loss refers to a decrease in mass or nutritional value of food originally intended for human consumption. And food waste refers to food appropriate for human consumption being discarded. And wastage refers to any food lost by deterioration or waste. And this term encompasses the loss and the waste. And also avoidable food waste. There is also possibly avoidable food waste and also unavoidable food waste. So basically, we have to really make sure that if it is avoidable, we should avoid it, avoid that waste. And also possibly avoidable, as I mentioned, I'm just putting that, some people would consume potato skins, some people may not. But when it comes to unavoidable food waste, or food processing waste, what are they? We'll take a look into that. So we should really understand the food waste and how to reutilize it for bioenergy. That's what I'm trying to give this message, especially in New Jersey. And I'm sure everybody is so familiar with this upside down triangle, EPA's triangle, and the EPA's triangle is still suggesting landfill and incineration, but I believe now they are also looking into other technologies also, because EPA also recognizes that if landfill leakages may create climate change, contribute to climate change, the degree of climate change, I should say. So you can take a look at later, but recovery and the certain centralized and decentralized conversion technologies. Obviously, you can take a look at that. Of course, source reduction is the most important part. And then obviously, edible food rescue, it's basically, for human and, oh my goodness, what's going on for my computer? No, I'm sorry. And small scale, decentralized, and so medium scale, and so composting and other technologies. So you can take a look at this, a chart, estimated food loss across U.S. supply chain from industry, retail, and consumer. You can see that vegetables, fruit, meat, a lot of waste is occurring currently. And also, but also the good news is there is a lot of interest in the U.S. and especially in our state also, how to reduce the food waste, for example, and also unavoidable food waste, how to deal with that. We're not trying to create technologies hungry for food waste. The most important is food waste reduction, generation reduction, but then there is unavoidable food waste, how to deal with that. And because Department of Energy is underlining that animal waste, organic waste, energy content, wet waste streams, and petroleum displacement potential, animal waste, manure, food processing, wastewater sludge. So there is quite a bit energy embedded, and we should not waste that energy. And so the main question, again, I'm asking, organic waste to energy and products pathways serve as an effective tool? Can it serve as an effective tool? And when we look into the food waste, I'm sure you're all aware of this, right? Ag and farming, the food is moving into the processing, right? And then refrigeration and storage and distribution, and then retail, and then it comes to our table or, our plate. And so there are a lot of also food waste generating entities or institutions, I should say, in addition to residential, post-consumer residential waste. There is education facilities, health and wellness area, the institutions, hospitality industry, and the hotels, restaurants, special events, food banks, even they generate food waste, and correctional facilities. And so it's basically airports also do generate a lot of food waste. And so it's a post-consumer food waste is big. And so obviously what we have been doing, conventional, because we've been doing food donation, definitely. Even Rutgers University used to generate food waste. It's into swine farm, and then for animal feed production. First food donation, but then animal feed production, and the composting. Composting is a great technology, especially if you're doing backyard composting. Is great, and it should be really promoted. But then when it comes to industrial composting, we have to be very, very careful. And so it should be well taken care of processes. We don't want any environmental impacts. And also it should be well, aerated. And so we don't want potential methane pockets, occurring. So currently we have a great, there is one typo here that we have an active research project going on, food waste composting. You can click onto that. We recently installed a state-of-the-art composter, I should say. It's in-vessel aerated composter. We are moving food waste from a cafeteria with electric vehicle in Cook campus, and we're transporting, and then we are composting currently in our research farm. And then wastewater treatment, anaerobic digestion. Food waste is mixed with residential waste, and a little bit, concern, but also it is still better than not utilizing for energy. But wastewaters, it's wastewater treatment facilities. Maybe they may also have separate, food digesters, and they may also receive source-separated organic waste, not only coming from wastewater pipeline, but also they can have delivered food waste and they can reutilize it. Because the energy generation is important, they can utilize the generated biogas in their already installed assets for energy generation. Landfilling. Currently, mostly, in New Jersey counties, we have landfills. Only a few landfill counties in the north, they don't have landfills. And food waste, unfortunately, mixed with, organic waste, also mixed with residential waste, and then they are buried in the landfill cells. Yep, you generate landfill gas, but then that landfill gas is not fully recovered, and some certain landfills may not be that efficient to capture almost 90% or 95%. So the methane leakage occurs directly into the atmosphere. That is why we have in New Jersey, food waste recycling law is in place for commercial facilities. Whoever producing more than 52 tons per year or food waste, they have to separate and send it to recycling facilities within the 25-mile radius. So that is why landfilling is sort of, still going on, and because residential organic waste is ending up in the landfills. But again, I have to underline, and nutrients also are not recovered because we're promoting circular economy, right? Let's take a look. This simplified, thing is going to explain. Currently, what we're doing is basically linear organic waste disposal. So, and if it is commercial, and but it's the every part of farming, they generate farming is those tomatoes or apples or whatever. Not everything is rather sold or returned back into the soil. Some part is as organic waste, it appears. And And now they are creating organic waste. But also they are still using fossil heavily. They are using fossil fuel and also fertilizer and transportation fuel for their farm equipment, right? And then whatever is being produced, it comes to food processing stage. And in this example, I put apples, but anything. So again, the food processing facility generates food waste, and then they use fossil-based power fuel, they generate organic waste. And then it comes to distribution. Yep, those trucks are still using fossil fuel. And then not everything in that truck gets delivered in the good shape, and they may create already some food waste. And then when it comes to your supermarket or your table, your refrigerator, in this case, I am either using as apple or pies. Holiday season is upon us. A lot of pies will be consuming, but not everyone consumes that full slice of pies. And so basically, why am I trying to underline post-consumer food waste? And then not everybody eats the apple. They take a couple of bites and then they throw it. So either residential or institutional, we have fossil-based power fuel usage, but then we generate tons of post-consumer organic waste. And then what is the current one? As I mentioned, it goes into landfills or incineration. If you have it, in your county, if you have landfill, yes. If not, it goes into incinerators, a little bit power generation, but we're not recovering the nutrients, right? So landfills, incineration, no nutrient recovery, energy, a little bit energy, and then industrial composting, and no energy generation, but industrial composting, if it's well taken care of, please don't misunderstand, that it is returning all the carbons, capturing back into the soil, okay? And it's a great carbon capture storage approach. So, but meanwhile, no energy generation, but we keep using, fossil fuels, fossil energy for power. So, and why not combine two approaches? In this case, maybe digestion industry and composting industry, they can coexist. And so in this case, first, the organic waste may end up in the digestion, and then effluent could be a potential feedstock for composting after being filtered, clean, biosolids coming from food waste can be potentially composted, and you can have the nutrients. So another, simplified, schematic, and in this case, you have the product, right, crops, and then you can produce in the processing industry, food processing, distribution, but then you can have organic fertilizer, low carbon electricity, because you're feeding back into the pipeline in the natural gas form or electricity form. So basically, you're closing the loop. You're closing the loop, and it's basically you're utilizing every bit of, and then much low carbon resource this is. And obviously, if we much more, if we look into this, yep, organic waste generators, and sending the digester, you can have liquid fertilizer, compost, and then the gas, either direct utilization or maybe upgrading into pipeline quality with removing the CO2, and then you can produce, compressed natural gas, but from renewable natural gas, and so basically, you can even produce hydrogen. So, as I mentioned, also food waste, and not only wet waste, okay, or high sugar waste. And now we may have animal source, what is good for thermochemical conversion, and so what is plant source. You can see that certain food waste, like processed meat and poultry products, can filter smoke, so fish or anything like nutshells and oils, fats, it could be suitable for thermochemical conversion that I mentioned to you, pyrolysis and gasification, and also hydrothermal liquefaction. So these are the potential, like straw, stem, leaves, husk, cobs, pits, as I mentioned. And when we pyrolyze it, and so what happens? You, depending on the end product, if we consider biochar, maybe biochar should be tested based on the feedstock conversion characteristics. It may, great approach for capturing carbon and returning back to the soil. And also, research is going on. However, we have to really understand, is it a good carbon storage, capture and storage application? Because also, crop yield improvements, and especially for acidic soils, the research reports that. So it's an opportunity for pyrolysis for biofuels. And in this case, we can have, overlap. Yes, we have energy, water, food, overlapping, because we have the biochar for soil amendment and carbon sequestration also. But again, in every technology, if it is anaerobic digestion, if it is composting, if it is, when you're using, any technology, you have to do the life cycle analysis. It's basically, and also in addition to that, you have to perform techno-economic analysis based on the size and the capacity, and also resource analysis. As I mentioned to you, that most of the technologies couldn't advance because they couldn't secure the feedstock. So you have to have the resource analysis, techno-economic analysis, and life cycle analysis. So with this, I have to stop, and if you have any questions, please, I'll try to answer.
Excellent. Thank you, Serpil. Guys,